Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here. Wednesday the 3rd of July 2024. Right, we are at last cooking on gas. So thanks for the input from the two Ricks and Ken. I think we've got there. So let me tell you what was wrong. So yep, the wheel turned and everything seemed to be lined up between the disc and the caliper, but the whole wheel was too far to the right. So the first thing that Rick kindly pointed out is that firstly, the caliper mounting bracket needs to be inside the swinging arm, and secondly, the big washer which is now there that we had on the outside of the caliper mounting bracket, which was outside here, needs to be between the caliper mounting bracket and the speedo drive, as you can see there. And I think we're all good now. Now, one of the reasons why I was struggling as well is that the caliper was mounted on the wrong side. It was on the other side of the bracket there. So you live and learn. And the other thing was that the brake anchor arm was the wrong way around. It was on the outside here with its stub here going through from this side. So basically twisted 180 degrees. So not much wrong really. But now we're all good, I think. And she's all in. The wheel is sort of spinning. There we go. It's rubbing a bit. I've got to true it up yet. And it's all so bloody close. But anyway, the wheel's spinning freely in the caliper. Sorry, with the disc in the caliper. So that's okay. The other thing that was pointed out by Rick is that these two mounting bolts for the master cylinder on its bracket are the wrong way round, really. i.e. the head should be this end, which would give you a bit more clearance between it and the frame tube here. But we'd probably have to take all that lot off again, including the brake and all that stuff. So we'll leave it as it is. They're all nicely tightened up with spring washers, and the bottom one's got a lock nut as well with a full nut, so it's all good. So we'll leave as is for now. Right. So there we are, that's done. So obviously just for aesthetical purposes, I've just mounted up roughly the rear mudguard in position. So if we have a quick look now from the other side, around all this paraphernalia. There we go. Still looks a bit like a bobber. But it does mean now that in this video, we can start concentrating on filling that gap between the back of the engine and the mudguard. So we'll probably start off with the air boxes and then the battery carrier and electrical tray which goes here. We'll do that. Now, with respect to the carbs, which I showed you previously, we were working on, well, it's a bit of a mess here, sorry, but I've begun putting these back together, but Greg has noted, you know, the things that are found wrong with them. So he decided to buy new. So we've got a new pair of Premiers, allegedly all jetted up for a 1977 T140V. So we'll check that over. They're from Surrey Cycles. They had a pair of stock, they're Premiers, Mark 1 Premiers, so 1.5s, what you want to call them. As the manufacturers didn't have, stroke owners, didn't have a pair in stock on their website anyway. But anyway, Surrey Cycles are a reputable, pretty reputable, I think. and we're all good, so they'll be going on. So what we'll do first then is we'll start putting together all the bits and pieces that need to go in here, and I'll bring you back. Oh, one thing to mention before I do that is Charlie's filter, and there it is. So again, Rick came to the rescue and reminded me that this is just a straightforward B25 SS/B25T filter. So yep, I had one in stock. So there we are. There we are. So we'll contribute that to the project. As I was saying to the owner, Greg, we can't return this to standard because in fitting this filter and its base plate, you have to hack off the original feed pipe that goes inside the gauze, the original gauze filter, inside the tube. So unfortunately, unless you take all this to bits and start welding and messing about again, that's a permanent change. So we'll stick with that. So we'll get that fitted on there at the appropriate point. So all good. And then this is here because we're going to borrow the bottom adjuster off that, and hopefully it'll fit the other shock on the other side, which we haven't addressed yet. But the shock on this side is fine, and that's all together. And I say just round here, just putting on some new fasteners and making sure we've got right washers. There's a right mess here going on. Just little things like that, just tidy it all up. Right, let's get the bits and pieces for beginning to fill in these gaps. Right, the way I'm going to do this, I think, is the same as I did on the A70 Lightning hauling frame. So we need to build the internals first before we put on the air boxes and the side covers here. So first thing is the battery tray, and then the electrical tray goes in there on the same mountings. But we need to build up the electrical tray, so we'll build that up. We've got the rubbers in on the battery tray. That one needs to be pushed in a bit further, and then they have what they call shouldered screws, but we've got some bolts and washers the right length, and these go through from that side into the rubber, out the other side, through, we'll go through that frame bracket and then through the electrical plate mounting and a nut on the side, and I think they're just long enough, just about. If not, we'll get a bit longer, but I think they're okay. So we'll get that done first, and then we can mount the inner air boxes and then we can start thinking about the carb mounting before we put the outer air boxes in. So we've got a plan. Also, we've got that bracket to put on there. We've got this one to put on here, and I've just loosely mounted up the engine plate on this side, same as the other side really, just pretty straightforward. And then we can tidy that up. Might need to give it a little bit of a paint. We've got new rubbers all the way around. You'll notice it's a bit tidy on this side because I've got the chain up in a degreaser bath. It is cleaning up okay. It's absolutely filthy. I need to give it another go. And then the stuff I couldn't think of the other day that I've had for years is link life. Still loads of it left. I've done no end of changing that. So once this is all cleaned up, we'll wash it off, and then we'll get this on a stove, warmed up, melted, and we'll put the chain in and give it a lube bath. Right, let's first of all, to carry on, let's get the electrics tray built up. So we've got the coils to put in. They go in rubber rings in the two holes. We've got the indicator flasher unit and its coil mounting to go on there, and we've also got the rectifier and the condensers, but the condensers can go on afterwards. I think the first thing to do is just get the coils, the rectifier and the flasher unit on there, and then we can actually mount it up. God, the bench looks like a disaster, but that's because lots of going on. So I'll come on to the carbs later, probably in a later video, but let's focus on the electrical tray. Right, so we need to put the rubber rings in the holes, and then the cleaned up coils are slot into there. The rectifier, I believe, goes there, something like that. And I'll look in the parts book because I need to clean that up, but that's the mount for the flasher unit on its spring, trying to keep the vibes away from it. And that's basically it. Then we can slot that in with the battery tray that's already in there. Just on another news then, I've got to sort these two out, split that to get that out off there, the adjuster to put on the bottom here. The trouble is with these later shocks, with these single collets at the top here, they're a bloody pain to get off, because the old-fashioned shock spring compressor doesn't give you hardly any room to get that single collet out. When it's two collets split, it's a lot easier, but you can do it. You have to do it on the side. And then the chain, sort of cleaned up, not too bad, and that's just in there ready for that to be warmed up, so it can have a nice hot bath, and we'll impregnate that with some lube then. Right, in the magic of a few seconds, I'll put this electrical tray together. There you go, two coils in, rectifier, condensers if we need them. We're going electronic ignition, so probably not needed, but they're just for completeness anyway. And two grommets in, because this is potentially where the wiring harness should come through, and so those grommets are in those holes. The spring and holder for the flasher unit, I remembered, goes on the side of the battery carrier just here, and I've pointed it that way to keep it away from is that a shadow? Yeah. Keep it away from spraying stuff from the rear wheel, assuming Greg rides it in the wet. Right, so what we can do now then is we can slot the electrical tray in here, and it mounts up onto these two brackets here, which are common with the battery tray, so that'll bolt it all up at the same time, so we're good. Right, there we go. So battery carrier is in, mounted up here, here and here. The bolts go through the rubber and through the mounting bracket, and then onto the other side to the mounting point for the electrical tray. And then the electrical tray is also fixed at the back here with the mudguard. And the reason why I've got the coil up here temporarily is because the rear brake fluid reservoir bolts onto the back of the electrical tray, and that's where it sits. And that's the new old stock one we got from Vale Onslow that arrived this morning. So that's tightened up, so that can now just slide down like so. And there we are. You'll notice on this tray, I don't know whether you can see it or not, these coils are splayed out to avoid hitting the mudguard, whereas on the earlier revisions, like my Lightning, the electrical is just flat and the coils sit straight down, and unfortunately they had a tendency, the coils, to rattle against the mudguard, so they've obviously fixed that. So that's all looking good. Got more mounting bolts and brackets on the mudguard and down the bottom here. Just got to tighten all that up, and then we've now got the inner plenum chambers on, just mounted up here, but they do screw together. You can see top and bottom of the join. There's a little tiny BA screw and nut that goes through there to hold those together. But obviously there's the back side panel that goes on the back here that goes onto these pins as well. Where are we? Why is there only one pin there? Have they gone to one pin on these? Perhaps, yeah. I'm thinking of the B25SS, that's 2 pin. So there we go. I think we'll leave it there for now and keep this a short one as we're motoring along. And then in the next episode, well, in between this and the next episode, obviously I'll just tighten everything up here from the back all the way around to the bottom. And in the next episode then we can concentrate on getting the carbs on, new carbs, the small inlet tract, and the air filters and outer covers. And that'll finish that area off. So yeah, we're beginning to motor along now because hopefully most stuff's prepped. Just give you another view of it. Beginning to look a bit like a bike. So we've got the chain to do, got carbs to put on, brand new carbs. Should have been spec'd for this bike. And the other thing I want to show you here as well are all the components for the rear light unit and the also the grab rail, which we can put on the back next episode too. The reason why we took the light to bits was to paint this back plate, and that's come out pretty well. And the other thing I want to do as well is just get a bit of polish on this lot before we get the seat and everything on there. And also we can think about putting the hydraulic line in from the reservoir, and that sort of goes down here. And I don't know if you can see it from here. No, you can't because the swinging arm's in the way. Underneath the swinging arm there is the massive reservoir, and there is that's it there, the tube that the hydraulic pipe goes on. Right. Okay, everyone, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much for watching, as always. Thanks for your interest, comments and any subscriptions. And we'll see you all again soon. Tomorrow is July the 6th, 2024. And I'm just going to nip to Mallory to put the Rocket 3 in the TR3OC enclosure there in the paddock. Unfortunately, rain is forecast, and it's started raining here now on the Friday evening, so I might get a bit wet, but I think I'm going to go because I promised them I would take it as an exhibit while all the Rob Norths blast around the track. Anyway, let's see. Okay, we'll leave it there. See you again soon. Cheers.